My name is Parker, I'm 28, and for half my life, I believed my brother, Damen, was just the charismatic golden child, and my marriage to Sienna was stable. That lie shattered last Thursday. I walked into my apartment, home early from the factory, and heard voices from our bedroom, Damen's deep, arrogant tone, Sienna's frustrated pitch. They were talking about me, calling me a clueless idiot they needed to get rid of. How could I have been so blind? In mere minutes, my world collapsed. I heard Sienna declare, "Sweet is for desserts, not men," and Damon's low, mocking laugh confirmed their contempt. He sat there, sprawled on my bed, a smug grin plastered across his face, completely oblivious that his casual cruelty had just ignited a firestorm within me. He had no idea how quickly everything was about to unravel. Before I tell you what happened next, if you enjoy stories about justice and family boundaries, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Where are you watching from right now? And what time is it there? Drop a comment and let me know. I'm typing this at 3:47 a.m. In a rundown motel that smells like decades-old cigarettes and bad decisions. There's a flickering neon sign outside my window, and every few seconds it strobes a sickly pinkish light across the room. My reflection in the mirror is a stranger's eyes, red hair, disheveled jaw locked with anger I've never felt before. Half my life is stuffed into trash bags by the door. How did it get to this? I should have seen it coming for months. My wife Sienna had been acting strange, flipping her phone over whenever it lit up, laughing too hard at my brother's jokes. They've known each other for years, sure, but I never thought they'd do what they did, and I definitely never imagined I'd walk in on them one random Thursday afternoon talking about me like I'm some clueless idiot they needed to get rid of. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Parker, 28, and up until a week ago I thought I had a decent life. I've been married to Sienna, who's 26, for just about 2 years. She's gorgeous, confident, has a degree in marketing. Post these perfectly curated Instagram photos that get hundreds of likes. I work at a factory assembling packaging materials. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills. I'm not the type who needs fancy cars or designer suits. I find with stable routines. Sienna used to say she liked that about me. Then there's Damen, my brother, aged 32, 6 feet 3 inches built, always the star in any room he enters. He's in sales, has a company car and a magnetic smile that could charm the last dollar out of a billionaire's pocket. Our parents treat him like the second coming of Christ. Me, I'm the afterthought. Growing up, everything I had felt like hand-me-downs, clothes, attention, even respect, but I'd learned to make peace with it until I found out he was sleeping with my wife, or at least that's what I suspected. Actually seeing them together was a different kind of horror. Last Thursday the fact had an equipment failure, so my shift ended early. I texted Sienna around noon that I'd be home by 4 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock as usual. No response. I drove back, expecting to find her maybe napping or scrolling through Instagram. The moment I opened the door I heard 2 voices coming from our bedroom, Damon's deep arrogant tone, Sienna's slightly higher frustrated pitch. My heart hammered. Why was my brother here? I stood in the hallway listening. Parker's never going to get anywhere, Damien said. Hugh's been at that factory for 5 years, zero ambition. Sienna sighed. He's sweet, but sweet is for desserts, not men. He's so small, doesn't stand up for himself. I need a real man. Damen chuckled, that low mocking laugh I've hated my entire life. Exactly, someone who can provide, someone who knows how to take what he wants. I pushed the bedroom door open, wasn't even locked. They were sitting on my bed, clothes on, just talking, but it felt more intimate than if I'd caught them naked. Damen leaned back against the headboard, arms spread like he owned the place. Sienna sat cross-legged, angled toward him, entire body language screaming comfort. They looked at me with annoyance, like I was an unwanted intruder. The hell is this? I demanded, voice cracking from shock. Damien straightened but kept that smug grin. Hey little bro, thought you wouldn't be home till later. Equipment failure, right? My fists clenched at my sides. Why are you in my bedroom, Damen? Sienna rolled her eyes like I was a whining child. We were talking about how I have no spine, I asked. She shrugged. Somebody has to say it. I'm tired of pretending everything's okay. I turned to Damen. You're engaged, remember? Molan, she's back home planning your future. He gave a dismissive laugh. Molan and I have an arrangement. She knows how this works. Besides, Sienna deserves a real man. It's not my fault you're content with mediocrity. I felt my voice catch in my throat, fury coiling. Get out of my apartment, Sienna snorted. Our apartment, my name's on the lease too, and actually you should leave. What? She stood crossing her arms. I'm done, Parker, sick of your dead-end job and your timid little routine. Pack your things, go. I glanced back and Fourth between them days so what you two Damen shrugged she needs someone who can keep up with her face it man you're weak his eyes sparkled with triumph that's when something inside me went cold I didn't scream or punch him I just grabbed a duffel bag stuffed in my laptop clothes anything I could reach Sienna tossed me trash bags to pack the rest while I shoved belongings into them she and Damien exchanged smug whispers once my arms were full I stalked to the door Damen called out no hard feelings right you'll find someone more your speed I left without a word but inside I was boiling I drove around aimlessly for hours until my buddy Mike let me crash on his couch the next day I moved into this motel that's where my new life started I guess in a dingy room with a blinking neon sign I spent the first night at the motel sifting through my trash bags tears of rage blurring my vision that's when I found my old iPad the one I'd barely used since Christmas I booted it up to my shock. It was still linked to my iCloud and apparently still synced to Sienna's phone because when she ran out of storage I'd added her to my plan messages photos voice notes everything it felt wrong but after what happened I figured I had every right to see the truth the text between her and Damien went back months starting with casual flirting building toward meeting up while I was at work one message from Damen made my stomach turn to ice taking your wife is a bonus but the real thrill is seeing that look on Parker's face when he figures out he lost again like back when we were kids and I took his bike some people are just born losers so this was a game to him not even about love or lust just taking something from me to prove he could Sienna was fully on board complaining about my lack of ambition and boring lifestyle they planned how to slowly nudge me out she even told him the best times to come by how to avoid me she mocked me for not noticing the signs I saved the screenshots to a private folder my hands shaking with fury Damien had a big promotion coming up with our Uncle Edwin's company he was also engaged to Malene with an engagement party in 2 weeks perfect life perfect fiancé say perfect everything except now I had proof of his scumbag nature they called me weak fine I'd show them what a weakling can do when cornered you'd think my parents would be outraged on my behalf but no they've always favored Damen it's been oh Damien so successful so charismatic since we were kids. When I showed up at their house eyes bloodshot and voice shaking mom and dad glanced at each other uneasily I told them Sienna and Damien had betrayed me mom frowned dad rubbed his temples then they started with Parker maybe if you paid more attention to your wife maybe if you aimed higher in your career I stared in disbelief are you blaming me for her cheating with my own brother mom we're not blaming you exactly but sometimes women stray when they feel unfulfilled you've been stuck in that same job for years dad nodded grimly Damien's dynamic Parker he goes places you can't fault Sienna for wanting more my throat tightened you two are unbelievable mom grabbed my hand pity in her eyes we know this is hard but we're sure your brother didn't mean to hurt you Humes always looked out for you I jerked my hand away rage nearly blinding me looked out for me HEK the reason I'm homeless right now dad waved a dismissive hand stay here for a few days calm down then talk to him see if there's a misunderstanding I stormed out they didn't follow apparently once again Damen was their golden boy I was just the worthless younger son who should have tried harder to keep my own wife I took 2 days off work claimed I was sick just so I could cool my head but instead of calming down I dug deeper into Damen's digital footprints I found references to how he managed certain corporate accounts at Uncle Edwin's company how he might be stealing credit from subordinates I found pictures of him partying with coworkers while claiming to be out of town on business I also discovered messages to mean his fiancée he barely mentioned Sienna by name only alluding to a side piece the man was engaged and still chasing my wife for sport my fury only grew Uncle Edwin is dad's cousin but we've always called him uncle he's wealthy runs a prestigious logistics firm he adores Damen sees him as the next big star perfect place to strike I arranged a meeting under the pretense of seeking career advice. He invited me to his country club plush carpets crystal chandeliers he sipped a glass of scotch while asking about my future plans I let him talk then casually brought up Damen's upcoming promotion you must be proud I said he's set to handle some major accounts right Edwin's eyes lit up yes indeed that Northfield account especially he's shown real promise I feigned concern but I heard some rumors about him taking credit for work his team did could lead to nepotism talk Edwin frowned. What rumors I showed him a few carefully chosen screenshots Damen bragging via text about how he borrowed his subordinates' work and passed it off as his own another mention of questionable use of company funds for personal expenses Edwin's frown deepened he scrolled silent then rubbed his temples I never thought well people can exaggerate he said quietly I hope they did I replied forcing a sympathetic tone I just don't want this to blow up in your face you've always been fair uncle he nodded. Finishing his scotch. I appreciate you bringing this to me. I'll look into it. Score. I left the club feeling a glimmer of satisfaction. Damien's corporate world was about to get a thorough audit. Back at the motel I started getting frantic messages from Sienna. Please Leighton talk. I made a mistake. I ignored them. Then a text from Damien. Stop whatever you're doing, this isn't funny. I refused to reply. Let him sweat. My phone blew up with missed calls from mom, dad, even Molan, who apparently got my number from a mutual acquaintance. She left a voicemail. Parker, I'd like to meet and discuss something about Damen. I decided it was worth hearing her out. Maybe she'd provide more ammo. I met Molan at a chic cafe. She looked rattled, tapping her manicured nails on the table. After some awkward small talk she cut right to it. I heard you and Sienna split. Damen hinted it was a mutual decision, that you two just drifted apart, but then I found some messages from him to your wife. I nodded grimly. It's more than messages. They plan to push me out. She swallowed, eyes watering. Hek been lying to me for months. I confronted him. He claimed it was just flirting. Then I found evidence he's been with other women too, not just Sienna. So she faltered. I gave the ring back, called off the engagement. My anger flared again, but for her, not at her. I'm sorry. You deserve better than that. Snake. Her voice trembled. I'm the one who's sorry. I believed in him. My parents adored him. And now I don't know what to do. I called you because I heard you might have more information. I showed her screenshots, letting her read the vile words between Damien and Sienna. She went pale. Hune's bragging about humiliating you. It's all some game to him. I nodded. I know. She pushed the phone back to me. Face said, thank you for telling me. I'm done with him, and if there's anything else you need to expose, let me know. We parted ways with a strained hug. Two people who'd both lost illusions about the same man. I was so consumed by bitterness that I started fantasizing about physically hurting Damen, but I'm not a street fighter and I didn't want to get locked up for assault. Instead a darker idea took shape. If I couldn't smash his face, I'd smash something he adored even more. His car, a pristine black BMW he bragged about endlessly. One night near my motel I ran into a homeless guy rummaging in a dumpster. He seemed desperate, shivering in the cold. I approached him, heart hammering in my chest with a twisted sense of purpose. I offered him a few $100 money I really didn't have to spare to set Damien's BMW on fire. Gave him the license plate, the location, told him to do it at night with no witnesses. He stared at me like I was insane, but eventually took the cash and slipped off into the darkness. I told myself it was just talk, that he might take the money and vanish, but 2 nights later I saw a local news alert on my phone. A car fire at the Westside Athletic Club. Black BMW, suspected arson. My heart pounded. The next day I got a call from Damen, voice tight with rage. Someone burned my car. Parker, the cops are investigating. Don't you dare act innocent. The first, no, you're behind this. I tried to keep my voice steady. That's a serious accusation. I have no idea what you're talking about. He cursed. You're playing with fire. First you sabotaged my promotion, then you turned mean against me. Now this all because I took your wife. My blood ran hot, but I said, seems like your perfect life is unraveling. Maybe you should rethink your choices. He just breathed heavily then and hung up. My hands shook as I set the phone down. A wave of nausea hit me, realizing I just paid someone to commit a felony. My thirst for vengeance had taken me deeper than I ever thought I'd go, but it was too late. I'd lit the match. There was no going back. Mom insisted we all have a family dinner to hash things out. She believed the family needed to reunite, said that we can't let a small misunderstanding tear us apart. I knew it would be a disaster, but I went anyway. Maybe I wanted to see the look on Damen's face. He arrived late, eyes bloodshot, hair unkempt, no sign of the slick corporate shark I once knew. He slumped into a chair, ignoring me. Mom tried to make small talk about the marinade Dad used on the chicken. Dad nodded stiffly. Aunt Cheryl was there too, stirring her potato salad, obviously sensing the tension. Finally Dad cleared his throat, glaring at me. So Parker, any updates on your living situation, or are you still at that motel? Damen scoffed. He probably likes it there, since it suits his low standards. My fist tightened around my fork, but I kept quiet. Mom frowned at Damen. Don't be rude, we're here to talk this through. I smirked at him across the table. Yes, let's talk about how you wrecked my marriage and now want to blame me for your meltdown. He pointed his fork in my direction. Don't act like a saint. You're the one who showed Uncle Edwin those files and sank my promotion. You turned Malene against me, and I know you burned my car. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough, Parker, if you did anything illegal. I stood up, voice shaking with anger. I didn't do anything. Your precious son did this to himself. Damien let out a bitter laugh. You can lie all you want, but you're just proving you're not so weak after all. Congratulations. Mom and Dad looked back and forth, clearly more concerned about Damen's agitation than my feelings, and Cheryl stared into her plate, silent. Dad finally set it down. Parker, we don't need theatrics. Let's just figure out how to fix this mess. I stared At him stunned. You want to fix this by telling me to back down after he took my wife and humiliated me after you both sided with him claiming I wasn't ambitious enough. Mom tried to soothe things. We know your brother can be intense but you could have fought for Sienna or tried counseling. I nearly laughed. I was thrown out of my own apartment. Or do you not remember that part? Damien pushed away from the table. This is pointless. I'm out of here. He stormed off. Dad glared at me as though it were my fault. Mom gave me that disappointed look. I snatched my jacket and left, furious at how they bent over backward for him while telling me to keep calm. A few days later Uncle Edwin summoned me to his office. The place smelled of polished wood and that lemony freshener. He looked troubled. Stacks of papers in front of him. I've investigated Damon's work. Edwin said there are enough irregularities that the board has decided to place him on probation. The promotion is off the table. Frankly, I'm disappointed. He paused, studying me. You wouldn't have come forward if you didn't think it was important, but I also sense there's a personal vendetta here. I swallowed. Damien destroyed my marriage. Edwin's face tightened. I heard rumors but I had no idea it was this severe. I'm sorry. Regardless, the company can't reward unethical behavior. Damon's out of the running for the promotion. I nodded, a grim satisfaction stirring. Understood. I was leaving. Edwin touched my arm. Parker, there's a lower level management opening soon. If you're interested, call me. This family's gone through enough turmoil. I thanked him but didn't commit. Part of me wanted to keep my distance from everything associated with Damen. Still, it felt good to know I'd knocked him down a peg or two. It wasn't just Damien who was spiraling. Sienna's roommate Heather reached out to me saying Sienna had my spare headphones and a jacket. I met Heather at a nearby park during her lunch break. She handed me a small box with my stuff, then hesitated. She's been lying to you for months, Heather blurted. Damen was coming over since January. She told me she wanted someone more successful, more exciting, but after you left Damen ghosted her. He blocked her number, told her it was just a game to prove he could take her from you. I stared, a hollow sense of vindication swirling in my gut. So Sienna's alone now? Heather nodded. She's devastated. She actually cared about him, I think, but he used her. She's been crying for days. She keeps saying she didn't realize how bad it would get. I snorted. She humiliated me in our own home, took my brother's side and literally threw trash bags at me. Hard to feel sorry for her. Heather pursed her lips. She regrets it, but I get it. I wouldn't forgive her either. Look, I'm moving out soon. The tension is unbearable. We chatted briefly about her needing a new place, but I wasn't about to rent a room to Sienna's roommate. I told her politely that I was settling into my own apartment soon. No more motel for me. She left, wishing me luck. I wondered if Sienna was rotting in regret, then told myself not to care. One evening as I was returning to my room with a plastic bag of microwave dinners, I saw Damien by my door. My pulse spiked. He looked drunk or strung out, eyes bloodshot, hair a mess. He staggered toward me, pointing a finger in my face. You ruined my promotion. Maline's gone, my car's in ashes, and Sienna keeps calling me, whining that I used her. He gave a shaky laugh. Congratulations, Parker, you're not a loser anymore. You're a monster. I gritted my teeth. Get away from me. He shoved me against the wall, breath reeking of whiskey. This is all your fault. You couldn't just let me have a little fun, could you? You had to nuke my entire life. I shoved him back. You humiliated me, took my wife just to prove you could. Don't cry about consequences now. He stumbled but didn't advance. I never expected you to fight back like this. Guess I underestimated how nasty you could be. You're worse than I am. Maybe, I said softly, but now you know how it feels to have someone rip away everything you value. He scoffed. You think you've won some moral high ground. You paid a homeless guy to torch my car. Don't deny it. My heart pounded. Prove it. He let out a bitter laugh, stepping back. You really are a piece of work. I might tell the cops. I suspect you. Not sure if they'll believe me, but at least it'll drag you down too. I stared at him, unflinching. Try it. All you'll do is embarrass yourself further. You have no evidence and you can't exactly waltz into a police station explaining why your brother might want your car in flames. Can you? He glared, wavering on his feet. This isn't over. Then he stumbled off, nearly tripping over a loose piece of sidewalk. I watched him go, a hollow ache in my chest. Once upon a time he was my brother. Now I was consumed with hatred so deep I torched his life in return for him torching mine. A few days later Sienna texted me claiming she had a few more of my things. She asked me to meet outside our old apartment. I almost refused, but part of me wanted closure, so I went. She was leaning against the stair rail, arms folded, eyes rimmed with red, face pale. When she saw me she tried to smile. Can we talk inside? No, I kept my distance. Just give me my stuff. She bit her lip. Why won't you just hear me out? Because you threw me out like trash. You and Damen had a grand old time laughing at me, and now that he's dropped you, you want me to take you back. That's not happening. She flinched. I'm sorry, I was stupid. I let him fill my head with ideas that you never get anywhere, that I deserved more, but he didn't actually care about me. He just wanted to one-up you. I stared. I know. She blinked away tears. I didn't think it would go this far. I thought maybe you'd fight for me, show me you had ambition. Instead you just left, and now you're punishing me. Punishing him, burning everything down. I laughed without humor. You wanted me to fight for you after you declared you needed a real man. You humiliated me, kicked me out of the Apartment I paid for, I owe you nothing. Her tears came then, but they did nothing for me. I understand if you can't forgive me, just we had 2 years. Parker, can't we try again? I shook my head, a stone lodged in my throat. You chose my brother, live with that choice. She tried to argue, but I turned and walked away, refusing to look back. My chest felt tight, but I knew there was no future there, not after what she did, not after what I'd done in return. That weekend my mom called frantic. Damien had shown up at their house, drunk and raging, blaming me for everything. Dad tried to calm him, ended up driving him to some friend's place. Mom wanted me to meet them for another family talk. I refused. There was nothing left to say. Uncle Edwin texted me that Damen was officially terminated. He'd found more shady deals, more evidence that Damen lied about sales numbers. The board had no choice. Damen's entire corporate career was in ashes. The news should have felt sweet, but it just felt hollow. I'd gotten my revenge, but there was no real triumph, just a gaping sense of loss for who I used to be. I signed the lease on a tiny apartment with noisy neighbors and a faulty heater, still better than the motel. As I unpacked, I found the watch I'd saved up to buy Damien for his 30th birthday, a watch Molan returned to me saying he didn't deserve it. I pinned it to the wall, letting it remind me that some gifts turn to curses if given to the wrong person. Sienna kept sending messages apologizing, claiming she'd made the worst mistake of her life. Eventually I blocked her. My parents disapproved, telling me I should work things out, as though I was the one who'd messed up, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. They never defended me once they'd chosen their favorite son, even if he was a cheat. Damien's meltdown continued for weeks. Word spread among family and friends that he lost his fiancée, his job, and was rumored to have debts from his partying lifestyle. He called me a few times in a drunken haze, spewing threats and accusations, then sobbing that he had nothing left. I'd hang up, emotions swirling, hate, pity, satisfaction, regret, all of it tangled in a knot. One night he actually showed up at my new apartment building. He banged on the door reeking of liquor. He ranted about how I'd ruined him, how I was always jealous. I told him to leave before I called the cops. He staggered away, cursing me. A couple of weeks after the dust settled, I got a call from Uncle Edwin. He offered me a chance to interview for a mid-level position, said he recognized I was more capable than anyone, realized that maybe I just needed the right environment to shine. For a moment I considered it, but I couldn't step into Damen's world without feeling like I'd become him. Instead I thanked Edwin and politely declined. I didn't want nepotism, and I didn't want to follow in my brother's footsteps. Even if it was a good career move, I'd find my own path. I'd love to say there's some neat resolution, but life doesn't work that way. Sienna is a ghost in my phone now, blocked and banished. Damen might climb back eventually. He's the type who lands on his feet, but for now he's living in a friend's cramped spare room, sending me venomous texts about how I destroyed him. My parents still think I'm partly to blame, and Cheryl tries to invite me to family dinners. I usually skip them. All I know is that for the first time I'm free from being overshadowed. Sure, I'm haunted by the extremes. I went to arson, sabotage, exposing every secret, but if I've learned one thing, it's that quiet doesn't mean weak. Everyone has a breaking point, and when I reached mine I stopped caring about right or wrong. Am I proud of the man I became to take revenge? Not really, but I can't deny there's a grim satisfaction in watching the mighty fall. If that makes me the villain, then so be it. At least nobody laughs at me anymore. At least Damen finally knows I'm not just some mad he can walk all over, and Sienna knows too that I'm not her safety net. Maybe one day I'll find it in me to forgive, but not now, maybe not ever. For now I'm just focusing on building a life from scratch in this old apartment with squeaky floors. That's enough. I don't need a fancy job or a trophy wife or a sleek car. I just need my dignity, and for the first time in a long while I feel like I finally have it.